All right, welcome back, Florida Football Insiders. It's week 3 of the Coach and the Kicker. And we got our coach, Coach Jim Leavitt, back with us, former USF head coach. Got his hat on backwards today, looking like a practice day.
We're ready to go to work.
Linebacker coach, ready to go hit somebody today. Welcome back, Coach.
It's good to be back, Jason.
Well, a weekend we didn't think was going to be a very entertaining weekend in the college football world turned into a pretty exciting weekend. We had huge upsets. We had a coach get fired and all that. Let's start in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. Scott Frost gets relieved of his duties on Sunday afternoon. They lose another tough game Saturday to Georgia Southern, team they're supposed to beat. So Scott Frost let go in Lincoln by Trev Alberts, the AD. You know, interesting thing here is Nebraska could have waited a couple more weeks, and if they wait a couple more weeks, they would have saved about $7.5 million on the buyout, but they didn't. They pulled the trigger on Sunday. Coach, your thoughts? Just the thoughts of when a coach gets fired. Forget about who it is. Just when a coach gets fired in season like this, especially this early in the season, just how does that resonate through the football program?
Well, it's it's tough. It's hard. I've been an assistant when that's happened, and there's a lot of different things, a lot of different dynamics. Sometimes if things are going really bad, you have an interim head coach come in there, and the guys start rallying behind that, and they just want to get away from the drama. They end up doing better, and that happens a number of times. Scott's a very good coach. Obviously, did a great job at Central Florida, and he just, for whatever reason, struggled at Nebraska with the expectations. It doesn't surprise me that they let him go because Georgia Southern coming in there and beating them. And, I think they played North Dakota. It was tight in a controversial game, over in Ireland. And then, he's been there. I don't know if this is his 4th year. But I believe they probably negotiated that out. I don't know if they paid the whole $7 million. And, Scott cares a lot about Nebraska. He played there and,
sure,
really connected. So I don't know. I certainly have, but I'm assuming, I would think that he probably talked to Trev Alberts and they just, worked out something and probably just for the program's sake.
How does I know you've been in that role as an interim coach before. How does that conversation happen when the AD or whoever comes to you and say, "Hey, coach, we want you to take over"? How do you present that to the football team? How is that first? How do you present that to the football team moving forward?
Well, you just be honest with them. You just you don't hide behind anything. It's you're just honest with the players, and you state the facts and where we're at that point. That it's not about you as a coach or the staff. It's about us as a quote family. And try to bring everybody together. And everybody wants to win, so that's still a common goal.
Sure.
And how do you do that? And go about the ways that you think it what it takes to win ball games. And
how much do you try to change, whether it's the routine, the schedule? Do you, as a coach, if you think, hey, I wish we were doing things a little different, do you make those changes immediately, or do you kind of stay status quo on how things have been going? How do you handle that as being when you're in that role?
Well, I haven't been in the role that Nebraska's in right now. If I was taking over that program right now, there's enough time there. I'd put in the way program, and if it wasn't the way it was set up before, I would change things.
Okay.
I would abruptly change things, and do it to what I'm comfortable doing, and with the way I like to go through practice schedule and with the meeting schedules and
sure,
everything. I would do all of it, and I'd make sure that I felt good about the staff and who's on that staff, that they're on board also.
Right.
And if you need to make some moves there, do it. Because it's all about the players and the team and the program. It's not about one individual. And but no, I would do what I felt like I needed to do to put ourselves in the best position to win ball games.
Because the interesting thing here at Nebraska is You're only 0-1 in the Big Ten. It's not like you're 0-3 and it's over. You're still got a shot to win that side of the Big Ten, theoretically. I mean, you still have a chance to do some damage in the Big Ten to get to, you're not going to be playing for the national title probably, but you still have a chance to win that side of the division in the Big Ten.
Well, sure. Well, the main thing I'd focus in on is just play better football.
Right.
And, focus on that next game you're playing, and that's it. I wouldn't even go past that. But I know one thing, there probably would be a lot of changes if I was there, and just because I'd want to do things that I'm comfortable with.
Sure. Sure. All right, let's get to speaking of the upsets. What a weekend for the Sun Belt Conference and Conference USA. You got Georgia Southern going to Nebraska. You got App State going to Texas A&M and winning and dominating, and not just winning that game. They dominated that game. I watched a good bit of that game. They played really well. And then you got Marshall going to the Holy Grail of South Bend and winning up in Notre Dame. All places I know and places you probably have coached in. Talk about the giant killers over the weekend. What a moment it is for those programs.
Well, what's interesting is everybody talks about this NIL. Everybody talks about paying these guys all this money. I don't know how much money Marshall paid their guys. I don't know how much money App State paid. Right. I don't know how much money Georgia Southern paid their. I mean, to me, it's still about bringing your team together and having a good plan and making sure the guys play with confidence and realizing there's a lot of parity out there. I watched the Marshall game quite a bit because Lance Guidry was my secondary coach at Florida Atlantic, and I think he's a great coach and he's a really good coordinator. Did a great job. I texted him afterwards, and I watched that game, and I thought they were better. They just outplayed them.
Yeah.
You watched App State. I saw some of the highlights of it, and
they dominated. They had the ball. They held the ball for 40 minutes against A&M.
Yeah, and these are in hard places. Going into A&M, going to Notre Dame, Georgia Southern, going to Nebraska, Bennett, Nebraska. That's not easy to play there, and or it shouldn't be. It's remarkable, really. The biggest thing that stood out to me was I started thinking right away, NIL. What the heck is all? Right. Everybody talking about trying to pay all these players.
Right.
These guys. I don't see anybody making millions of dollars at Marshall probably or those other schools. So.
And you've been involved, you've been involved in some big upsets as well at USF. You've gone to Florida State and won. You've won at Auburn. I mean, you've pulled some monster upsets when I know not an upset in your mind, but an upset in the national media's mind and perception of mine.
Yeah,
at what
might have been mine too. I mean, going to Auburn when that game was remarkable. I didn't think about it again, like I said, about winning and just play great football. And you're right. We beat West Virginia a few times. They were fifth in the country twice, and Petrino came down with that ninth-ranked Louisville team and beat them 56-12. And you get your guys. Your guys get they come together and they play with confidence and they realize that they can beat anybody if you play good football.
Yeah, people don't realize
football, certainly.
Yeah, people don't realize the margin between the Notre Dames and the perceived other guys is not that big. There's not that big a gap when it comes to teamwork, when it comes to effort and chemistry. If you've got those things, the margin between the Notre Dames and the rest of the guys is not that big.
Yeah, it's really hard. Your Alabamas might be, once, Ohio State's. I mean, those guys are kind of almost in their own world right now, but but they, their coaches do a good job. Not, sometimes those teams, they just feel like they're going to win and they don't prepare as hard during the week, maybe, and that's part of human nature, But no, when I was at South Florida, we honestly felt like we could beat anybody. We really did. It provided we put in the right work, had a good game plan, had good quarterback play, protect football, like I said, and kicking game was big, but just get us into a position to win the ball game. And we did a number of times, and we didn't always have the better players.
Right.
There's no question. I mean, we probably didn't have all the better players, but we were talented though. We recruited hard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go to Gainesville. Kentucky comes to town last Saturday night. A very impressive win by Mark Stoops. Everybody was all super excited in Gainesville after they beat Utah. Richardson played really well against Utah. Kentucky comes in very business-like. They win a hard-fought defensive game, 23-16. Richardson struggles at quarterback, doesn't play nearly as well as he did the week before, threw a couple interceptions. For everybody raised Anthony Richardson to the mountaintop, he's only started 2 or 3 games in his career. You have to give the guy time to grow into the position, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's none of us want to say that though. Certainly, it's all about getting. But I was really impressed with Kentucky, and Mark Stoops, his first college job was with me at South Florida. We didn't play. Okay. He was there. He was part of putting those trailers together. The old Ponderosa, whatever they called it, but Mark's done a phenomenal job, and then Mike Stoops is with him, his brother, just Fort Atlantic, went up there to coach linebackers, and I was just very, very impressed with Kentucky. Just in every level, there were some things that they were in some adverse situations in that game, but they just stayed steady. Just kept playing the game one snap at a time. They were the better team. Like I said, I thought Utah was a better team when they played Florida, but Florida got the win. But I was very impressed with Kentucky. I really was. They're both well coached. Kentucky was just better, and I had a really good plan. I thought they did a really good job. I was impressed.
No, they had some special.
Go ahead.
They had some special teams blunders. Kentucky, a couple bad snaps for a safety, another bad snap on a field goal. I mean, they overcame some stuff in that game that easily could have got them blown out in Gainesville.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When I used to tell the team all the time, you're going to go through adversity in every game. It's going to happen. Just plan on it. It's who can handle the adversity and who can deal with it and get through it is a big deal. And Kentucky did that, but I never wanted players to get in a situation where when adversity comes, they're surprised, and they're not, oh my goodness, you've got to have your leaders stand up. You still play one play at a time. You believe in the plan. You play with confidence and you get through it, and again, like I said, every game's going to have adverse situations. You gotta get through it.
All right, I'm going to bring coaching question. Florida's down 7 with about 8 minutes to go. They go for it on their own 40-yard line. They've got timeouts. They're only down 7 points. I was a little surprised Napier goes for it on his own 40 with 8 minutes to go. Then he goes for it again on his own 28 with 4 minutes to go with his timeouts. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna look at that and those are tough situations, I guess. I don't know if I would have done the same thing, but again, I don't want to question him and
right
players and their game plan and all that. I think you could have a little bit more patience with the game.
Yeah.
Realize that you can do an awful lot with very little time, and believe in your defense and that they'll get the ball back to you.
And they were playing well. The defense was playing well.
I know. They were. But it's hard to, it's hard to know. You're not in that locker room. You're not there. And you got to make those decisions as a head coach. And it's a very lonely world. You got to go with it. And, but you also have to, anymore with all the social media and the press, you got to be able to explain why you did it. You're accountable to your team and to them.
Are those collaborative decisions that you're at all asking the input of your offensive coordinator at the time, or is that strictly your call as the head coach to go or not go?
Usually my call. I didn't really. I mean, I was always listening and talking to the staff. As we got ready for those situations, I saw them coming up. But you just got to make it.
Right.
A lot of times, a lot of times there's crickets in those headphones. What do you guys want to do? Nothing. It's not because they don't want to make that decision. So a lot of times you're gonna have to make it on your own.
All right. So the Florida drops to 1-1 again, lose their SEC opener. We're going to talk about Florida USF this week in just a few minutes. But again, a couple other notes around the state of Florida. FIU loses. FAU wins big. USF beats Howard convincingly. Did you talk to your buddy Larry Scott at Howard this weekend?
No, I text him. I just text him. Good luck with the game. I knew South Florida would win that game, but I'm not really as surprised that it was 14-7 at halftime.
Right.
Because Larry's, that's a big deal for him. South Florida just got done playing BYU.
Right.
I mean, it sounds crazy. You would think their players would want to come out unglued, but it's Howard and human nature again. So that didn't surprise me. But South Florida did what they needed to do. They won the game.
Right.
And moved on. You just want to move through that game and just get ready for the next one.
Let's talk about backup quarterbacks. Texas, Alabama. The Texas is playing really well in that game. The quarterback gets hurt. The backup comes in, plays okay. He doesn't play bad. He plays well. Texas loses a heartbreaker at the gun there in Austin. Talk about the backup quarterbacks as far as how much time does a head coach give a backup quarterback reps in practice during the week percentage-wise? I know the NFL, the starter gets probably 95% of the reps. How do you guys handle that at the college level as far as giving reps to your backups?
Well, you say you had sets of 8, and then with your offense, you're going sets of 8, 6. You might let the starter have the first 8, next 4, and maybe depending on where you're at and how you feel, you're probably going to give your backup maybe 30-40% of those snaps. Okay. But again, it depends on where you're at, and you want to make. Everybody talks about the third quarterback. He probably gets no reps ever. Maybe if you keep him after practice a little bit and have a little bit of scrimmage with the young guys, you'll get him in there. But the backup's never going to get as many as a starter. He's just got to be ready to go. But you better have him ready. It's the most important position on the field. And I thought that was really quite a game. I didn't watch all the game with Texas and Alabama, but it showed me that Texas defense did a great job.
They did.
They had the quarterback sacked to probably win the game, and he got underneath the guy. You can't. We used to always tell those guys, when you're coming off the edge or you're coming through and on stun or blitz, you can't miss a layup. Always he miss a layup, and he did.
Right.
And it cost him the game. But you got to give a quarterback credit. He slipped the tackle and got the ball out, and
that's got to be. For you, that's got to be the frustrating part. You call the perfect defensive call with the corner blitz. You have them dead to rights, and the kid just can't get him to the ground.
Right, and the quarterback did a really good job being elusive there. Always, but yeah, we used to say you can't miss a layup. That's the deal. And but what a game! And there's some real controversy in that game.
Officiating, yeah, and I hate to bang on the officials, but there were 2 or 3 pretty rough calls in that game that all went against Texas.
All of them, and I thought Texas was probably the better team, and
I agree
in that particular game. But what's Alabama won? However you do it, you get to win, and that's
survive in advance, Coach. Survive in advance.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Woo. All right, listen to the Florida Football Insiders with head coach Jim Leavitt, the coach in the kicker segment, presented by Beef O'Brady's, Hank's Barbecue, and Home Slice Pizza Company. Go to Beef O'Brady's on the corner of Bush and Himes, and go enjoy their beautiful new remodeled restaurant over there. Go over there for Thursday nights, Saturdays, Sundays, whatever your needs are football-wise. They got a great setup there over there on Beef's O'Brady's on Himes and Bush Boulevard. I know a guy TJ Maloof, a guy owns that restaurant. So go see TJ. Appreciate him being involved with the podcast. All right, let's get to Central Florida. They lose to Louisville on Friday night, a game everybody really kind of thought Central Florida was going to win. Louisville looked terrible the week before at Syracuse. They come into Orlando and beat UCF. Your thoughts?
Well, it was a heck of a game. Louisville's quarterback's been around for a long time,
Yeah.
and he seems like he's been there forever. But he, and he's inconsistent with some of his throwing, but got it done at the end, and they held on to win. It was a big win for Louisville.
They needed that one. You're right.
They needed that win, and now Central Florida goes to FAU.
Yes.
Interesting, because Willie Taggart, was at South Florida, and that became pretty intense. And they kind of went back and forth in those games. So that'll be really interesting. And Florida Atlantic did a good job against Southeast Louisiana to win that one big.
They did.
Momentum. They got some confidence after losing to Ohio on the road. I think that'll be an interesting game. I'm going to be real curious to see how that plays. I really am.
And the game's at FAU, so again, you're not going to have any problem getting the crowd jacked up because another Florida team's coming to town. Those kids will be all amped up because I'm sure a lot of those kids think, hell, why didn't Central Florida recruit me? Or why didn't, whatever, why didn't I get recruited by those guys? How easy is it to not even have to worry about motivation in a week like that with your kids when you got another in-state rival coming to town?
Well, yeah, they're all going to be fired up. They're all going to be ready to play. I think that's going to be a heck of a game. I really do, because Florida Atlantic's got the quarterback from Miami that transfers.
Yep,
been there for a while now, and Orlando's the defense coordinator at FAU, and he's got a real good resume. And I know Kevin Patrick's there, and they've got good coaches. I think it's going to be one heck of a game. I really do. I'd be surprised if one team blows out the other. I think it'll be real close. And don't be surprised if South Florida doesn't hang in there with Florida for a little bit.
Okay.
Honestly, they've got enough seniors. They're going to go to Gainesville. I would not be a bit surprised to see that in the second quarter being pretty close. I think Florida will eventually move away from South Florida, probably in the second half. And maybe I don't know if they'll get going like BYU did right at the beginning. Who knows? But I would not be surprised to see South Florida kind of hang around a little bit,
And yeah, if you're Jeff Scott, this is the kind of game, again, not losing the game is not the worst thing in the world, but you can't get blown out by 40 or 50 points. These are the kind of games that, from a program perspective, you want to show the fan base, hey, we're making progress. And again, doesn't mean you have to win the game, but you don't want to get beat 55-10.
Well, it's gonna come down to defense a lot, on the at South Florida. And their DC has a good resume. He I don't know how good all their players are, and I don't know the scheme, but that's going to be the key to even hang around with Florida, trying to keep
Richardson from running around and ruining the game.
Right.
And you got to score. I mean, say what you want. Florida's shown they can play defense. If you're South Florida, you got to score some points. You got to get creative on offense, run a trick play, something to generate some offense. Because, I mean, again, sounds like they struggled a little bit scoring some points early in that Howard game, especially.
Right. And they've had some struggles on both sides of the ball. It's only 2 games. So, it's not like you're in a conference race. They got to focus and play good football against Florida no matter what. Then they go on the road to Louisville. Then they got East Carolina coming in, and that's going to be, they got to be ready then. So, it'll be interesting to watch, see how that game plays out. But like I said, all the time when we beat all those top 10 teams, our defense always rose up.
Right.
It was really, because you're going into a hostile environment. They got to play. They just do. We always talked about that, and they got to carry the lunch pail and make sure that their defense is on to give you a chance, because it's so hard for offense to get going right away in those environments.
So Florida State hosts Louisville, who just beat UCF. Interesting game Friday night in Louisville. Should be a really good game. Florida State coming off an off week. Did you think an off week this early in the season is good, or would you have rather have kept playing if you were Florida State?
It doesn't matter. You just say it's good because that's what it is, And sometimes you'd rather have a little bit later, maybe, but it is, like I said, that's when the off week is, and Florida State might need that. Going to Louisville. Louisville was a really hard place. Petrino was the head coach there when I was at South Florida.
Right.
Did not beat them there. We played them 4 times. We beat them twice. They beat us twice. But we didn't beat them in Louisville. They didn't never beat us in Tampa. But going there was always a challenge. I felt like we definitely should have won one of those games. We were up in the fourth quarter and lost the game, but tough environment. It's a huge game. I want to tell you, this game's going to tell me a lot about Florida State,
right,
and kind of where they're really at and what kind of team they really have. Because and Louisville, same thing. This is a huge game for those two teams,
and it's a conference game. The conference opener for both. So again, you're right. Florida State, 2 road games in a row. So you really want to see where you're at. Again, I'm with you, especially with the way Louisville was perceived after the first week, and then you go to Central Florida and win. So they've righted the ship a little bit, it seems like. So very important game in Louisville this Friday. It's a Friday night game, not a Saturday night game. All right, let's get to the marquee game of the week in the state of Florida. The Hurricanes head to Texas A&M to see the Aggies in Jimbo. You got Miami was a little sluggish against Southern Miss, probably a kind of a look ahead kind of situation. You got an opportunity here if you're Mario. Jimbo's gotten beat. They didn't look very good. You're probably going to get a great effort out of A&M, but there's some hope if you're Mario looking at the film saying these guys can be beat.
Oh, I think Miami's going to win this game. Because I like their quarterback.
Yep.
I think they've got a lot of hype going right now. Texas A&M is he's got to rally those guys now, and that is not easy. And if Miami comes out early in the game and really establishes some defense and just moves the ball a little bit, I believe Miami will win this game. I don't know how good Texas A&M really is.
Right.
Miami's got some momentum, and I'd be surprised if Miami doesn't win. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, and A&M's got some quarterback questions they have to answer. They're not sure what they're going to do at quarterback. Again, you'll probably get a great effort out of A&M just because of the way they played last week. But you're right. A lot of young kids playing, a lot of young guys where Miami's a little more of a veteran team. They clearly have the better quarterback, which in this day and age of college football, it means most everything in a lot of places. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for Miami to springboard their start of their season.
Yeah, and I think they'll go in with some swagger, and I think they'll go in there with great confidence. And like I said, I like their quarterback, and going into that, App State went in there and beat them soundly, like you said. And
this is the kind of game the last 5 or 6 years Miami hasn't been able to win. They've played close. This is like Florida State against LSU. You got to win these kind of games. You can't keep having moral victories.
Right. And we always talked about that even, when I was at South Florida, didn't want to go in there and just play somebody close. That didn't do me. That wasn't it.
Right.
Because a lot of teams like this, they go in and they play close and they lose. That's why you love seeing the Marshall, the App State, the Georgia Southern. They go in and win.
That's right.
And that's the thing that South Florida's got to realize too. I mean, not saying they'll happen this week in Gainesville, but if those programs can do it, you're located in Tampa. There's no reason that South Florida can't build a very powerful program. There's just
you did it.
There's
you
no
did it.
Huh?
You did it.
Well, we won some games. We were close. We were close to doing. We did some good things, but there's no real reason. It's Tampa is Tampa, and you can't ask for a better place to recruit to and get players and do it. And I'm sure Jeff's on his way, and this will be a big game for them just to play well against Florida and see what happens.
All right, last thing I'll get you out there. I want to ask you a couple. How did you decide end of your playing career at Missouri? How did you decide you want to get into coaching? How did all that come about?
Well, I did. I wanted to play. I wanted to keep playing. So what was the next best thing was, honestly was coaching.
Okay.
I kind of fell into it. And after 40 years, I was still in it. So, but I'd much rather play than coach. But
did you have any opportunities in the NFL or Canada?
No, I didn't. I could just like the 4 interceptions, we could kind of embellish and say something. But I didn't. I just, I was a good solid player in college, and that was it. And played a little bit more baseball because I played both those sports, but not football. That didn't work out for me. And but that's okay. The coaching ended up having really, to be in as long as I did and to be as places I was at and be involved in some games is, most people don't have those opportunities. So I was very fortunate.
So you were a quarterback in high school, really pretty good quarterback from all indications. You play safety in college. How do you decide that you're going to be a defensive guy versus an offensive coach?
Because I threw 4 interceptions against Riverview. That's where they put me as a GA. I played defense, so I ended up staying there. And I believe in defense and kicking game. Most of your guys in kicking game are from the defensive side because you're taught how to tackle, you can run, those kind of things, and mostly safeties and linebackers. So you're really controlling almost 2/3 of the whole deal. And I just love defense, but I enjoy the offensive side too. So there's no question. But I just spend all my time on defense.
There you go. All right, folks, we're going to get into more again, X's and O's and all. We're going to get into 3-4 defenses and 4-3s and advantages and disadvantages in future weeks. So stay tuned. Every week, the coach and the kicker, former head coach Jim Leavitt, doing a fantastic job once again. So you like Miami this week? Who you like in Florida State, Louisville?
Wow.
Tight one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Florida State, but I don't. Boy, that's a toss-up to me because it depends on the play of the quarterback, Louisville's quarterback.
Okay.
Consistent he is and what he does on third down and how if he can protect that ball. That'll be a real key. But it's going to be a close game. But I kind of give Florida State the edge.
I do too. I think Florida State will find a way to get it done in Louisville and be off to a good start for Coach Norvell. So, Coach, thanks for the good chat. Have a great week, and we will see you next week on the Coach and the Kicker.
All right, see you, Jason.
All right, talk to you soon, Coach. Bye-bye.